All right, friends, welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. Our YouTube channel is dedicated to all things Bannerlord related. We are dedicated to tactics, and we are dedicated to helping you dominate the battlefield in many different ways. Now, today we're going to focus on castle defense, in particular of the Khuzait. These two castle models that we're going to cover today are every single castle model within the Khuzait Empire. These guides here will help you automatically destroy the enemy in almost every situation. Now, a couple clarifications. This first castle that we're going to look at, Samira Castle, I will put a list in the after editing, basically overlaid the screen you're seeing right now so that you know what castles to go to expect this model. But I want to make a very important point. First, this is an excellent castle for defense, one of the absolute best in the game. Again, I've said this before, and I'm a little bit worried that some guys will watch this guide and be upset because they feel like they're using a cheat code. That is how effective it is. This little back row in particular, accessed only by this set of stairs, is absolutely lethal because of the crossfire. Now, I want to make a point here. That is the tier 2 walls, accessible by the stairs. You do not want to upgrade these castles to the tier 3 walls. It's simply an oversight of the developers, but there's no way to get up to those walls on that right side of the castle. You see the castle's much more fortified here with the tier 3. It's got all these extra layers. It certainly looks better, right? If you were touring this castle as a tourist, you'd say, geez, this castle's a lot more defendable than the other one. But look at this. You can actually go from one portion of the castle to the other, almost as if it was a tourist destination, and they want to make access easier. Of course, medieval castles were designed for access to be very limited, so that it was a concentric defense design. You had to get through one area, then you got stopped by the next, and they'd drop an iron bar on you, and you'd have to get through that, and then there'd be a drawbridge, etc., etc. Now, this castle layout at tier 3 still has this beautiful wall to use to put archers. However, you look in here, you get close, and I think it's just an oversight. There's no stairs. Some little guy's got his little peasant's hut down there instead, and there's no way to get up here. The only way to get there actually is to just fall, is to jump with your characters, and of course you can't make units do that. That means you do not want to upgrade these castles to tier 3. There's even an argument to be made, if this is castle tier 3 and you're sieging it and you plan on keeping it, to sack the castle to try to damage the walls to tier 2. That's how dramatic it is. Now we're going to use the RTS mod today. That's how we're flying overhead. This is brand new with beta version 1.3. We will be using beta version 1.3 tactics from most videos now on. We are embracing the beta. It's a wonderful update to Bannerlord. There are all kind of improvements, and there are improvements for siege, but they're subtle. The AI does tend to use the ladders better. They do tend to put both of the ladders up, and they do tend to not get stuck as much. Now, in this situation, the AI, of course, is going to get pulverized. They're significantly outnumbered, but more importantly, they're not using any of the defense structures. I mean, apart from a handful of archers sort of smattered here and there, there's not really any concentrated defense force, and that's one of the keys to winning in Bannerlord, is to have your forces and your destructive power concentrated. Whether you're doing a kill box, a funnel defense, or a castle defense, you want your archers shooting at the same target. Now we're going to blaze through this here just so you can see the final results. We'll go back to the main menu to see how many troops they had. It's getting just a bit juddery here as thousands of units clash with each other. We'll get a final result here, though the AI is not able to defend this tier 3 castle. Even though it looks imposing, they basically got destroyed. They got overrun. In fact, on both sides of the castle, they got overrun. So for all the looks, it's kind of like one of those dumb supermodels. It's not really, once you get past the exterior, you're kind of left with drab and stunted soul. Now we're going to defend the tier 2 model. I already mentioned that before. You do not want to try to defend the tier 3 model. Can it be defended? Yes. And perhaps if there's, for some reason, someone that really wants to see that, maybe we can help you with that. But we're going to defend this with much harder circumstances. And you know what? It's going to be easy. Just follow these instructions, and I know this is, there are plenty of guys who are like, oh, this guy, Tactical Enlightenment's arrogant. No, look, I'm just telling you that if you follow these instructions with this castle, tier 2 walls, and any kind of semblance of decent troops, you win. That's all there is to it. And of course, you'll see how absurd it is once we set these defensive structures up. Now what we're going to do is design a very strong first division, and you do that by getting that upper arrow there, that upper chevron. That gets you your best troops at the gate. That's going to be the most important thing for your infantry to defend. You put them in a square, sort of slightly offset from the gate. That way the enemy can kind of come in, but not pour in, right? You want to limit them to a trickle instead of a flood. Now we have 3 other infantry divisions, but that's the primary one. The other one, we're going to put on those stairs on that far side, right? I mentioned that before. These aren't even there on tier 3, right? And that's a problem because your archers can't even access a critical defense part of the castle. If you're defending a tier 3 castle here, you have to do it totally different. Now this beautiful side area here, the enemy gets shot in the back. They're trying to get to those archers, and the AI, or even a person, would be like, geez, I either run under this gauntlet of crossfire this whole time, or I try to get through those infantry up the stairs to those archers. The problem is to attack that square, they have to turn their back to those archers. Not a good result for the AI. Now this castle has all of these beautiful, well, they're kind of ugly actually, but these thatch rooftops, beautiful for line of sight, right? These guys are lined up like the terrorists, the Colombian terrorists, in clear and present danger. You're on the rooftops here, you got your RPG, and the next thing you know, the enemy's going to get exploded. All right, so we'll do this quickly. I'm not even going to focus on siege, right? You can throw some rocks too, but honestly, and this is, again, it's going to sound kind of arrogant, it's to illustrate how surefire this defense is. You don't even have to do anything. You can just go AFK. You can literally set up the castle defense like this. I mean, if you're outnumbered 10 or 12 to 1, obviously in extenuating circumstances, it's different. And if you have maybe 60 or 80 units or something like that on the console, you would have to get very tricky with your unit prioritization. I'll cover that, in fact, since we do have a lot of console guys that drop by the channel. Say you have 120 defenders. I don't actually know how many defenders you guys get. It depends, of course, on the console, what the settings are, etc. Let's say you have 120 defenders. I would put about 20 infantry right over here, about half as many as we have right now. I would put about 20 archers up on that wall behind him, which is about half. And then the main gate, I would leave about the same. Now, I'm not moving these guys here. I just want to see how the AI is approaching it here to see if there's changes I can note for you fellas. We're doing our very best to crank out content to cover this 1.3 update. There's a lot of changes to the core system of Bannerlord. Some of them are very subtle, some of them are more significant, and we want to find out what are the more significant ones. Manavliatons have javelins, the Sturgeon's spearmen have different shields, their archers hit a little harder. There's a bunch of different changes that we're trying to cover on the channel, and that includes siege, right? There are subtle differences. They will use the ladders a little bit better, things like that. Now you can see what a gauntlet these guys are in. By the way, this division here, it's an auxiliary division. I'm using this as a reserve. Just like any good general, Alexander, Napoleon, whoever, you want to make sure that you have a lever you can pull in case of a problem. Think of it like the fire alarm in a hallway where it says break glass in case of emergency. I got position infantry where you want in case of emergency. Right now, either of these two squares we could put, or excuse me, either of these two stairways we could put that infantry square, but I don't think we're going to need to. Depends on what the enemy has here, whether they have a siege tower or a ladder, but our archers are literally knocked and facing them. They are going to get smoked into the Stone Age. I mean, you want to climb up those ladders with 80 archers, you know, got you in their sights, it's not going to go well. They're not even going to get off the ladders, or if they do, they're already going to look like a porcupine. Now, your job, of course, is to sort of monitor things to make sure there's not a mistake in the formation, make sure perhaps you forgot a division, or maybe you moved it accidentally. Sometimes I'll get a third of the way through the fight and be like, who are these guys following me? Oh shit, I had the wrong division or gave them the wrong orders or something like that. Your job is basically to make sure that your cake recipe looks good. Now I'm just going to pick up a shield here. We're not concerned about these units because they're dead, right? Those guys are going to get, you can hear them yelling behind me. They're going to get shot and killed before they can even get to me. Now you could also use this square to block off the gatehouse so that you could throw the stones down on the enemy's head. It's a terrific way to level everything from your athleticism to your throwing skill to your character level. We just did a recent example where we got something like 6 levels from throwing stones and fireballs on the enemy in a single siege, right? So it's an outstanding way to power level your character. It's another one of those things that Tale Worlds should probably nerf, but it is what it is, right? These are the conditions of the game right now, and you're free to do what you want. Now, I'm not going to throw every single rock here, or at least I don't need to throw every single rock, but this is also a change. The AI comes up in measurably more numbers to the gate. Instead of sending 3 guys, they'll send 10 or 12. You can see there's a nice little wedge there. Take advantage of it, right? It just means you can kill more with your rocks. They're telling me I'm a dog. They're the ones that are getting killed like a dog. So you could see our square there in the outline with the RTS mod. All you want that square to do is basically stand there. They are a limiter. They are a regulator to how many different sturgeons or the Norse, right? Maybe we'll be facing a Norse invasion. These castles are right on the frontier of the future Norse territory. So this is going to be tremendously beneficial for you to learn how to defend these castles for the upcoming DLC war sales. All right, so you can just you can hear the sounds of people dying, and you can see the death spam in the upper right corner. We'll speed it up here, and it's highly favorable. Every once in a while, you'll see one of our guys get killed. That's because the squares are being pounded on by large bodies of troops. What's going on over here is the AI is exhibiting actually an intelligent behavior. They are building up a huge amount of troops before they charge, which is a better strategy than coming 5 at a time. In fact, I think they're coming. Here comes a giant Zerg of them. What do you think is going to happen? Right there in an absolute meat grinder. Our archers can't miss. They're shooting them in the back too, so almost none of the shields are even effective here for the sturgeons. They're being smoked by 45 archers, and their only way to get to those archers is to go through that infantry square. It's basically a Rubik's Cube that's been solved. Right? Now, that's the square you want to protect. If it breaks down, you want to start to protect this wing over here and start to put squares, because of course if you have a blowout there, the enemy is going to steamroll through your area here. I mentioned it before. That's your job as a commander, to make sure you fatten those squares. Make sure they're at least 30 or 40 units the entire battle. And you console guys, I would say 20 or 25. Now I can literally go AFK here. I don't want to go AFK and just have you stare at this overhead view, but you guys can see the death spam. So what I think I'll do here is just do a little bit of editing, and we will skip this massacre because the enemy can't get through, right? There's just nothing they can do here. And you know what? We're just going to keep filming, and I'll put this disclaimer here. Some guys might call this an exploit. Understand a human player would have a very difficult time dealing with this as well. Right? One of the things you could do as a commander to ensure that this is successful is to monitor your 2 different breakout points. If the enemy starts to storm through, and every once in a while they do exhibit that unusual behavior. I don't know if it's a bug in the matrix or something like that, but say they start to pour through the gate, simply move that square directly in front of the gate, right? Directly in front. Try to cover every single inch of that gate. The enemy will still get in, but they will slow to a trickle, at which point you can then clean up the mess that's inside the courtyard. Maybe 60 troops or 100 troops get in, and there's chaos in the courtyard until that happens. But once you plug the gate, that's it, right? There's going to be very few troops getting in after that, and you can execute all the criminals, all these fugitives inside. Now this battle's basically over, right? You got one guy here who should have ran a while ago. This looks like an absolute graveyard massacre. And that's it, right? This castle, I didn't do anything, right? I didn't assume my weapon. I guess I threw a few rocks. I guess I can't say I didn't do anything at all. But it doesn't really matter whether these are sturgeons or Norse. Unless the Norse have laser beams and grenade launchers, you're going to be fine, right? You're going to have this slow motion, terrified opponent running away from your castle as fast as possible. Yeah, perfect, right? Just for the camera here, all these guys scream and wail like little girls. That can be your opponent once you master these position locations in a castle. So again, we'll put a list of the castle names that cover this exact layout, right? This is Urzener Castle and Samira. I know off the top of my head. There might be a couple more. We'll try to cover those. And that's it, right? We have a 15-to-1 kill ratio while we made dinner. And we're away from the keyboard. And again, that's why I apologized earlier in this episode. If it feels like a cheat code, my apologies. You didn't have to watch the video. Now, I'd appreciate it if you hit like. We are going to cover the other Khuzait castle, but I just figured every once in a while we'll slide in that little request if you liked our video. And of course, if you want to see more dynamic, destructive, almost game crushing tactics, you're in the right place. Tactical Enlightenment, that's what we do. All right, so I think this is good. Now let's just change it to Hakon Castle. The custom battle menu, of course, is a great place to practice, right? Almost everybody, I think, has access to this. We will do Hakon Castle here. Very similar circumstances, outnumbered 4-1. This time we'll give ourselves a fire catapult, just a little bit of variation, because in most situations you're going to be able to build at least one catapult. If you have 3 or 4 catapults, you should just mangle them so bad. It should just be like a war crime. But even one should make a dramatic impact, and we're going to try to destroy one of their siege towers. In other words, limit their access to only 2 ways in. Now, this is another incredibly powerful castle to defend, and I think, you know, if you spend a few minutes thinking about it, I think I can easily say the Khuzait have the best defensive castles in the entire game. That's going to be really interesting to see, you know, kind of how that works with players. I imagine, again, I owe kind of an apology to the guys who are going to be playing the Khuzait and watch this guide against the Norse, because you're going to turn them into little babies, right? Unless they give them pole vaulting or something like that where they can go flying over the walls. It doesn't really matter what they have for weapons, because we're going to be able to design a destructive courtyard defense here. You could almost argue that this keep is even more defendable. If you had a force of 400 or 500, I mean, you could get troops. Well, you can't stand there, but that's where I would be, right? I would be issuing commands right here. My mistress, you know, looking at me temptingly, and it would just be victory, right? Now, the AI, of course, is designed to defend where the siege tower comes up to the wall. Not a good decision, right? They're getting pounded with the potpourri of different throwing weapons. The sturgeons are loaded with javelins and throwing axes, so they're suffering losses already. But look at their archers. I hardly see any Khuzait archers. You see a few in the courtyard, but that's where a lot of them should be. And the back walls are very tempting as well, right? You have these elongated strips of walls to put your units on, and again, they're a lot more safe when they're on the back walls, because the archers outside either can't hit them or can't do very much damage. Now, the AI is vigorously trying to defend the gate here, but that's not enough. It's like 3 guys thick, maybe 2 guys thick. The sturgeons are almost breaking loose. I was observing the AI, and it was doing a better job earlier of throwing stones. I can't tell if it's throwing stones here. The AI is definitely doing a little better job with all the little details in siege defense. It throws stones better, it mans siege better, it picks up the ladders better, things like that. It's definitely better, although maybe it's baby steps at this stage. Now, this battle is already over. You can see the Khuzait is down to 80 troops, 70. It's cratering fast. And again, this challenge is we're against 1,000 sturgeons. And I forgot to mention it, but just to add to the difficulty, we have militia in our army, right? There's little scrubby militia running around. And of course, the sturgeons don't, because I wanted to simulate an attacking force. When you defend a castle, oftentimes you have militia. You can see their little numbers at the bottom there, militia spearmen. But the sturgeons, you know, when you're getting attacked, there won't be any militia. So castle siege can be hard. But this is about as bad a situation as you can face in the game. Outnumbered 4-1 against a very powerful sturgeon force. They have stronger troops and they have more of them. And we win. Like, I can already just tell you, we're going to blow up that siege tower on the right there. And here's another point too. Try to think 3 steps ahead. We blow up that siege tower, then we can still lob those fireballs down on the guys that get up on the siege tower on the left, right? You're thinking 3 steps ahead if you want to be a good tactician in Bannerlord. It's a little bit like chess. It's like a combination of chess, Rubik's Cube, and maybe billiards or something like that. You're working with angles. You're thinking about directional movement. You're anticipating problems, right? It's a combination of all these things. All right, so same thing as before. We're going to put a very powerful division at the gate. In fact, it's almost entirely tier 5 infantry and or lancers, right? Your cavalry become infantry in castle defense. Now I have 4 other infantry squares, and at least one of them is going to be auxiliary. This other one I want to actually jam inside this little tower. That's because it limits or completely nullifies access to our archers on this back wall. This back wall to the left has the most space, and so that's where we want to prioritize our defense. Oops, We clicked our little dude here. There we go. Let's tilt this. And we just stick him right in the gatehouse. And that's largely going to stop the enemy from getting up our left flank here, right? That left wall, we're going to be able to design some savage archer lines here. It's really long. And again, they will get shot from outside, and I'll show you what that line of sight looks like, but it's really safe, right? If you had enough infantry, I might even put another infantry division right here at the square, at the stairs, because then it would absorb all the arrows coming from outside as well. The guys would be layered of protection. Now we're going to get at least 2 archer divisions in the courtyard. The reason this courtyard is so valuable is it slopes down to the gate. It's sort of irregular to give all the archers different angles, but critically, all these guys can pretty much see the units coming through the gate and all the guys coming on the siege tower, right? These archers are just thrilled. They can literally cement their feet into the ground because they never have to move the whole battle. Over here, we're going to get a little bit tricky, and you don't have to do this, but what we're going to do is use a shield wall of high-end archers back here just to give us a couple more savage angles, because why not, right? Because Sturgeon shot with 500 arrows is funnier than 300 arrows, right? We're going to completely embarrass these boys. Let's put a line of archers right here on the stairs. If you don't like using a lot of divisions, you could probably get away with 3 divisions of archers here, but I think the more archer divisions, the more angles, the better. Because those guys, basically, if one of them gets attacked or your defenses start to break down, your other archers are going to clean it up by scorching the guys attacking your archers. It's concentric defenses. All right, so again, just like before, we have this auxiliary infantry division. I don't even know what to do with them. We're outnumbered 4-1, and I feel like I have way too many troops for this defense. That's how powerful this castle is. Now, out of the way here, fellas. And take a look at these guys. They look good, right? They're holding their shields up in the direction of the arrow fire. Now, we had a death, right? Some guy got smoked. That's probably the guy on that wall I was showing you earlier. They're slightly exposed, but most of those guys are going to be fine. All right, what else can we do? Let's do, real quick, let's do a catapult training session here. I didn't know this. For 500 hours, you control the distance of the catapult. And don't feel embarrassed. I just saw a guy on Reddit say he's played for 1,600 hours and never knew it. So I'm going to show you how to do it. Of course, left and right is obvious, but look down where the tip of my helmet is or that arrow is. You, with your movement buttons, move that forward or back, and that determines the distance the fireball goes, right? So if it goes over the top here, we would simply ratchet it back. Now we know the siege tower is moving towards us, so what do, right? We pull that bar back a little bit and fire, and goodbye it goes. Oh, I guess it needs one more hit. Now you can get tricky here too and try to kill those troops that are coming up on that side. But you know what's going to happen if we don't, or if we kill that siege tower? They're just going to come over to this other side and get slaughtered. We have them fish in a barrel. These guys are completely F-U-C-T, right? They are fucked. I get one more shot here on the tower itself. By the way, if the tower itself survives, you just have to guard that staircase on the other side. And you're still going to have good results. Your archers on the right side, if that happens, you'll want to get those guys down in the courtyard. I don't want to set anybody up for failure here. All right, we're looking good here, and now it's time for some free throw shooting. Almost all of us thought we were good at basketball when we were 12. Let's practice, right? Let's just lob some fireballs down here. I mentioned this before. This is probably the easiest way to power level 2 skills in Bannerlord. You're power leveling throwing, and you're power leveling athleticism. And it really, I better not say it again. When it is actually any RFED, like you guys can't spell, when it is actually nerfed, you guys will be pissed off. But enjoy it while it lasts. Or if it keeps lasting, I guess just keep on enjoying it, right? This is basically also a cheat code to power level your character. You want 250 athleticism? Just dump a bunch of focus points into endurance and athleticism, and then just get out your fireballs here. Right now I'm waiting. The reason I'm waiting is because the Sturgeons are spread. Eventually, they form this tight mass of troops as they start to climb the ladder. It's a good idea to wait, even though I airballed that fireball. Let's get one more beautiful shot right in the core of their elite infantry. We could chuck a few rocks here too, but I think the AI is in the courtyard, or is in the gatehouse here. Yeah, there's a guy over there. Let's just leave, right? Our job is to monitor the courtyard. Let's not worry about things up here, right? Let's make sure the rest of our death trap contraption here is doing its job. And look at that Heya they're under. They have no chance of getting through here. I can literally stand here, and they can't really do anything to me. They could pursue me. And I like this dipshit. In fact, he's really like like a dance partner or something. Step off, dude. Just kick the guy to death. But you can see what's going on here. Those guys literally look like porcupines. They have so many arrows in their shields. They can't shoot. The gate is untouched. So, sorry, not sorry, right? You'll never lose castle defense again. At Hakon Castle, there's 2 or 3 other models, of course, that share this same model name. Again, we'll do it right here and see if I can remember. We will impose those afterwards on the screen. Nice bright white letters. And you know what our job is now? Is to go fuck the mistress. The game's over, right? You win, battle's over. Maybe if you were facing 10,000 troops here, you would have to do some dynamic things. But it really borders on the obscene how powerful this is. And it shows frontal assaults on heavily defended castles are not a thing, right? You have no chance to win. Now this square is doing its job. The AI every once in a while tries to charge over here, and what happens is they get turned into a corpse. Meanwhile, they're just stacking up because they're trying to rally enough troops to charge, and it's just never going to work. Maybe they're going to kill 30 or 40 of our troops. No more, for sure. Now, you got this auxiliary square. If the AI did get a siege tower to this side, I'm just showing you where you would put it. Of course, they don't have a siege tower because we destroyed it. And that's about all you need to know, right? Happy Norse killing, happy Sturgeon killing, happy Imperial killing. You can move that square around like that, and that'll block the gate pretty much. And cheat code, exploit, mention it in the comments. Try not to be too mean on me, though, right? I'm just trying to help you fellas dominate at Bannerlord. Can't be that mad, right? It's just a game.
We can't stop them!
And we listen to these pathetic Norsemen or Sturgeons. Choose your. It doesn't really matter who it's going to be. They panic run off the battlefield. 20-to-1 kill ratio. All right, and these are the only 2, as far as I know. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. These are the only 2 castle models for Khuzait. Now the wall level varies, right? I think again this is tier 2. The tier 3 walls will be higher. But I think this castle will actually defend excellently at all 3 levels because of that sloping courtyard. It might even be more deadly at tier 1, which is kind of absurd. All right, we're going to wrap this episode up. You now can destroy the enemy in castles at Khuzait. That's your refuge. That's your Helm's Deep. Have fun out there, fellas. Please hit that like button on the way out. And with all that said, I will see you guys next time.